All hail the king of Unga Bunga. I've been wanting to get my hands on this extended middle finger to Jerome Blake for years now, and we were finally able to get one to review. This design is now well over a century old, from a very different era than the interesting times we find ourselves living in. So can something this old, this boomer of a mech live up to the hype in this steroid-injected factory standard ECM and C3 base model Omni-Mech age we live in? Yes, absolutely. This thing handles like a dream. It's got the same GM 180 power plant as the Vindicator, and it weighs the same as the Vindicator, but it handles very differently. This thing moves like peak Bruce Lee. Powerful, but precise. Optimized violence. And much like Bruce Lee, it was made to do one thing and one thing only. Devastate anyone foolish enough to try and take it on up close. Encounter this thing in the close quarters of rough terrain, or God forbid on the mean streets of an urban agglomeration, and this pharmacist is writing you a prescription for a 3 billion milligram dose of ibuprofen. Its ranged weapons are nothing to sneeze at, but you don't want to fill up on bread, so here's the main course. The hatchet made of 3 tons of cobalt, chromium, nickel, depleted uranium, and pain! Now let's be clear, this isn't a lightsaber or a Hattori Hanzo katana. You're not going to Skywalker the arm of an Atlas on the first strike with this thing. But everyone's got a battle plan until they get hit in the face by a solid hunk of metal the weight of a semi-truck. I don't care if you're in a Marauder, when a Hatchetman decides to be your own personal fusion-powered Jason, you're going to have a bad day. This thing is truly down to clown. Speaking of which, let's get back to why I was clowning on Jerome Blake earlier. The HCT-3F Hatchetman would have gone down in history as the most important development in post-Star League battle mech history, if not for the Helm Memory Core and the Clan Invasion, because it undermines the entire "we had to burn this village to save it" ethos of Jerome Blake and the founding principle of Comstar itself to such an extent that I'm surprised Comstar didn't invent a time machine, stick it and their sexiest but dumbest ROM agent in a Savannah Master, drive it at 88 miles per hour to go back in time and cuckold Dr. Bonsai's dad the night of the good doctor's conception. The Hatchetman was released in 3023 and was the first totally new battle mech model in nearly 200 years. Yeah, I know all about the Merlin, and not to take away from what Brandon O'Leary and Mountain Wolf battle mechs built with a box of scraps in a cave, but the Merlin was a parts bin simulacrum of a new mech model, an ingenious one, but like a Betty Crocker cake, wasn't made from scratch. Doesn't matter how many little trees you hung off the rearview mirror, the Merlin was never going to have that new battle mech smell. The Hatchetman, on the other hand, was new. Peeling the clear sticker off the screen of the first-gen iPhone, new. It was built from the ground up, a product of the New Avalon Institute of Science and the mad genius of Dr. Bonsai. The Hatchetman, the official mech of CTE and Round 1 KOs. The common narratives of the Helm Memory Core and the Clan Invasion arrested the technological decline of the Inner Sphere, but the Hatchetman exists as a counterfactual to this narrative. What's a counterfactual? Well, when you're looking at a Hatchetman, you're looking at an alternative reality. An alternate reality where Grayson Death Carlisle dies on Trell-Wan from a terminal case of being a little bitch, and the clans are too busy arguing over contractions while using abbreviations to invade the Inner Sphere. Press F to pay respects to what little remained of the English language's grammatical consistency. The Hatchetman proves that the Inner Sphere had stopped its downward spiral of destruction on its own. Things were turning around even before the Helm Memory Core got copied more times than the smart kids' homework. In fact, the Inner Sphere wasn't just holding steady, but actually climbing out of the hole it had dug with gigatons of nuclear weapons and bad decisions. Look, even my beloved Capellans, the official faction of not thinking things through, in the Fourth Succession War, didn't target the jump ship facilities on Cathiel. They went after their power source to only take them down for months to years, not the decades of setback or permanent destruction their forefathers would have chosen. Whether through chance or selection pressures or just dumb luck, the Inner Sphere had made conflict sustainable, civilizationally speaking. There's an alternate reality out there where historians look back at the Hatchetman as the start of the Inner Sphere's recovery. An upward turn even Comstar couldn't stop after 200 years of line go down. Yeah, I know, pay your phone bill, when in doubt a wizard did it, but between the increased scrutiny of Comstar by the Great House intelligence agencies and the proliferation of black box technology, Comstar's era of civilization-level trolling was coming to an end. Humanity wouldn't need a savior, and Comstar would be forced to take a long look in the mirror, take off its wizard robes and hat, and start working on a new mission statement. Anyway, forget all that. How did the Hatchetman sell? It sold. Due to profits from the Hatchetman, Defiance Industries was stacking more paper than a bureaucrat with a government form fetish. They couldn't keep up with the orders for this Myanmar-infused Lizzie Borden, even when they tripled the output from their Hesperus 2 facility. And to tell you how massive that is, the Hesperus 2 facility isn't just the largest battle mech production facility in the Lyran Commonwealth, it's the largest in the Inner Sphere. It's an underground complex that shrugs off nuclear strikes like Southern Californians shrug off speed limits and makes the Cheyenne Mountain complex look like a hobbit hole. Now, to be fair, the vast majority of those orders were to the Federated Commonwealth, so I guess it's easy to get Salesman of the Quarter when you're selling to the largest interstellar polity since the Star League. Sure, the only reason they didn't buy even more is because Katrina Steiner didn't have any more of her own offspring to auction it off to the highest bidder. The Hatchetman also set off an espionage war not seen since the Mackie, with everyone trying to Mission Impossible their way into the Hesperus 2 facility. The ISF being the ISF, they succeeded, and then the Caretans did what every weeb is legally obligated to do for their ego, and gave the Hatchetman a sword. The DCMS has determined your ritual decapitation is not service-related. The Hatchetman would spawn the Axeman, a Hatchetman, but more. But unfortunately that model's fate was tied to the Federated Commonwealth staying together for the kids, which, needless to say, didn't happen. But the Hatchetman endured, even as its progeny succumbed to the perils of a joint procurement policy. As a Capellan fan, I am loath to give Hans Davion anything other than a steaming deuce on his doorstep at 2 a.m. But I will give him this. The Hatchetman is Hans Davion's bowling ball-sized calves carrying the whole Inner Sphere on his back out of the dark and into the light. And the last thing many MechWarriors saw was that light gleaming off the honed edge of a 3-ton hatchet.